I'm just going to angle the camera down. Okay, let's do this. Just rearrange my things so we've got them in the right place. With my card, you can see the little tree that we've made before. Move my laptop out of the way, it's less distracting. Just angle this back up a bit. Sorry, my camera work's not so smooth. I need a man or a woman, a camera person, shall we say, would make all the difference. But it's just me, so you're gonna have to put up with it. Okay, so you've got your moon bead, which is the round shell one. You've got your little leaf beads, which are the chip ones. I'm going to use Indian agate on my next tree. This one here is a mix of labradorite and a few other stones I had lying around. You've got a thicker piece of wire, like this one. And to shape it, I'm going to use a jar to help me. You could use a glass or a tin can, but it's just quite a nice way to get a good curve in it. Make it nice and round. Okay. So you can sort of, and this jar is actually a bit smaller than I had in mind, but I'm going to use it just to help me create curves in the wire. So you can use it to just help yourself bend the wire around into a circle. Then you can kind of open, once you've got those nice curves set in, you can kind of open that circle out, get it to the size you want. So I've kind of gone for something, mine's about 5 inches, 6 inches. It's designed to be hung on the wall, but you could make it smaller. If you want to wear it as a necklace. If you did buy the bundle of craft stuff, there is an extra little kit in there, which is to make a necklace version of these, so a small one. So if you've got that extra kit, you might want to keep this one big and then make a little necklace one separately. Right, the other thing you might want for shaping your wire is a pen. It can be quite useful. Oh, good morning, Tracy. Is it snowy where you are in Leicester, Tracy? It's snowy here. It's nice. Yeah, so you can use the pen to bend the wire at the top. You bend it around the pen to create a little circle at the top. Then you can use that loop to hang it off of. If you've got them, beading pliers are obviously the right tool for this job, but if you don't, use a pen. So if you've got these round nose pliers, you can make that loop a little smaller, a little tighter, and it's just a bit easier when it comes to finishing it off. And what I like to do here to make it nice and secure is to actually make a loop on the other side as well. So I'll just use the pliers to do this one. So both ends of the wire end in loops. I feel like I'm all thumbs today, so it's probably going to be the kind of workshop where I mess stuff up. So then you've got your rounded wire that you used your jar to help shape. Put the jar out of the way. And I've gone for like a nice oval shape, so I sort of rounded it on the jar and then stretched it out. And then I've put 2 little circles. Can we see those in the end of both the wire? And then I'm going to take that long tail end and just wrap it around the base of those 2 circles. Here we go, I feel myself, I'm warming up now, I'm getting used to talking. The sound of my own voice. So wrap it around the bottom of those 2 circles. And then I'm just going to trim off. So I'm going to use clippers for this. If you haven't got clippers, you can just snap the wire using pliers by just bending it back and forth. Or you can use scissors. Just make sure they're not any scissors you're fond of, because it's going to blunt them. But if you've got a little pair of wire snippers, perfect, and you might want to get that other end as well. If you're making this into a necklace, if you're making the necklace one, just make sure that you poke that little bit of wire out of the way so it's not going to stab you. But if you're making this as a wall hanging, it doesn't matter if it stabs the wall, does it? They also look great in the window in the sunshine. Right, so the next thing to do is to get your thin wire, and we're going to make it into smaller pieces. Now, the length of these pieces I've worked out is approximately, you want to make it as long as your circle. And then, to begin, when I first did it, I tried twice as long as my circle. And that was actually a little bit too long, so I'd go for twice as long as your circle, but then a little bit off. So maybe just under 1.5, it's not a circle, is it? 1.5 ovals. But you might want to, because if you think your longest bit is gonna run from there to somewhere, I don't know if you can see this thin wire, somewhere up here, but with lots of twists in it. So about 1.5 circles, I think, is about right, but maybe just a little bit extra for luck. Then you are going to double that wire over at the bottom. So it's got a bend in it, but it is twice that long. So you're doing, so it's basically three of your ovals long ways. Does that make sense? But with a bend at the bottom. So that is the length you're cutting pieces of wire of. So this should work if your ovals are different size from mine, because all you need to do is use the oval to measure it. So you go 1, then maybe just over a half, then you do the other side the same with a bend at the bottom. I hope you can see that bit of wire okay. I'll just leave it over there and I'll cut some more bits. And you can cut multiple bits at the same time. That's absolutely fine. You've got multiple ends in your bundle of wire, which you might do. It can work quite nicely to go a bit quicker. I should have pre-cut some of these because I'm going to be here for ages cutting wire. But it's all right, it's a craft along session, so we like that. Oh, Kim, I'm glad you're joining us. Okay, so I'm just stretching it out. The only problem with this thin wire is it does get tangled up. And don't worry if some of your bits of wire aren't exactly the same length. It's not a big deal. So just bear with me a minute. I'm just going to, because we can lose, if some are shorter, we can lose them. If they're too long, we can cut them off as we go. So don't worry too much about that. So there's 2. So if you just bear with me a minute, I'm just going to chop myself some up quickly over here and we can get started on the wrapping. Must remember when I do the moon workshop next week to pre-cut some stuff because I always forget. I think it doesn't matter. I don't need to pre-cut stuff. You're cutting all your stuff up. I'll cut all my stuff up, but actually I need to work a bit quicker than you because otherwise it gets a bit boring. Just a video of me cutting up wire for an hour. No one wants to watch that. But I'm going to get started in just a minute. So these bits of wire are super annoying and you do just have to sort of make a pile of them. Keep them out your way, keep them out your workspace, just pile them up. Don't try and keep them neat and tidy, it won't work, but they're so short they shouldn't get tangled with each other either, so there's that. Okay, there's a few more, and I'll just do a couple more. And then I might have to cut some in the middle, but this will be a good start. Just stay aware of how much wire you're using, how much wire you've got. If you feel like you're getting through your wire too quickly, maybe cut some slightly shorter bits. But you should have plenty of wire in these kits, so fingers crossed, it's all good. Let me just cut these last two and we'll get started. So in this one I made originally, I worked with my wires. I started my wires off in pairs of 2. So if you get 2 of the wires you've cut and you find that middle point, okay, so Susan, you said you made your 2 circles at the top, is it? You then just wrap the end of the wire that's left over, so the long end, you wrap around the base of the circles to hold it all securely together. Does that make sense? Sorry, I only just saw your question. Don't know how I missed it. Right, so you're going to get 2 of the thin wires, fold them in half. And you're starting with the roots. So we start at the base of the tree. So starting down here. And you're going to twist those 2 wires together. Yeah, Ali, I think that is sometimes the best way to do it, because it's good to watch it live because you might have questions. But it is also good to sort of have a go later when you can pause me and rewind me. So there's going to be lots of little wires coming off this. I'm going to warn you now. It's going to get annoying. But just bear with it. It's worth it. It's worth it, I promise. So that's our first root. And I'm going to start all my roots in pairs. So each time I start a root, I get 2 wires. I double them up. I put them over my center wire. And then I twist. And you find a good way of twisting that suits you. I like to hold the thin wires in one hand and then twist the big loop. And like I said, you're going to have lots of little wires flicking off and getting in your way. It's just how it's going to be. What you could do, what I'm actually going to do. Now I've said that, now I've said it's just how it's going to be, I'm actually going to try and tidy it up for myself. So I'm just going to start a little bundle here at the side of the thin wires I've added on. Just use a little bit of wire to tie them all onto the side. So that's just to hold them out of your way. It's nothing important to the design. We're going to take it off soon. Okay, so I'm going to get 2 more wires, fold them over. One of these is quite long and the other is quite short, but that doesn't matter too much. Don't worry if there's different lengths in there. It'll just add to the organic nature of the tree. And this tree is going to be, it's quite an, like I always say this in my wire wrap projects, and you guys must get bored of hearing it, it's quite an organic process creating this. So please make it your own. Let those branches go where they want to go. Let the roots go where they want to go. Just keep that tree. The more you go with the flow on this project, the more I think it looks like a natural tree. So I think that's really a good thing to remember. There's no right and no wrong. Just about getting it as tree as possible. Tree. That should be a word. As tree-like as possible. That's what a proper person speaking proper language would say. Okay, so let's twist this up. I'm sorry for all the wiry scratching noises. I know they don't make the best audio, but they're also incredibly hard to avoid. So I'm just twisting these, not very far, because I'm going to start twisting them all together. So I'm just twisting these probably about between 1 centimetre and ½ centimetre, and I'm varying it. So they're twisted up between 1 centimetre and ½ centimetre, but varied. Okay, next lot. Twisting, twisting, twisting. Oh, look, it's like a shadow craft workshop. Oh, I like that. Look at that, that looks cool. You can see the... And again, there's a lot of repetitive process in this, so it may, you know, is a good bit to like work at your own speed. It's a great project to do in front of the TV. Love a bit of TV crafting. And also I wanted to apologise because I'm so sorry I haven't designed a bracelet yet. Yeah, that's right, Tracy. Yeah, I'm just bundling them all up here so they don't go flying everywhere and make a mess. That is totally not part of the design. Just tucking them all the way up here. I've just got a little short bit of wire that I've wrapped around, that I'm running out of, that I've wrapped around to hold them all in place. But I will take that off in a minute and you'll see how wild it can get. Okay, let's add on a few more roots and then we'll start combining those roots. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've done 7. On this tree, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh my God, there's so many more. But we might get started in a second anyway. 1, I've run out of wire. And 2, I want to get on to the next bit with you. And we can add more on. So we can start off with these ones and then add more wires on in a bit. Let's get going. Let's get to the next stage. So I'm just going to take off this little wire up here that I used to tie them all on. It doesn't have to be wire, you could use string, but you know, you've got the wire there and it's quite good for doing this kind of thing. I say that and now I'm not going to be able to get it off. No, it's coming off, it's coming off. It's all going to be okay. I haven't ruined it yet. Here we go. Sorry, I just had to get it closer to my eyes. I'll put it back down so you can see it again properly. Right, so we've got all our loose wires floating around. We've got all our twisted wires at the bottom. So now's the fun bit, now's the creative bit. You've got to try and make these look like roots. So you want them to kind of spill and interact with each other in a root-like way. And you want to arrange them so they kind of crawl up and down the tree, like so. You find a place, you start off with 2 of them, you find a place you'd like them to meet. So I'm thinking maybe like that. And then you twist those two together. Okay, so you see, we've got, sorry, I put my finger on it and you don't see that well. Black's better for background. So we've got two twisted together there. And I'm going to add a third one onto that clump. I'm going to get the next one along and work out where I want it to meet those two. And you might find that you need to put an extra twist or two in the one that you're bringing to the party. And don't worry too much because they're going to move a bit on this on the thick wire, but as you sort of twist them together, that will strengthen up, they'll hold each other in place. So don't worry too much if there's a bit of motion at the moment. And you see what I did with this one is I twisted them together and then created these thicker twists that I then twisted around each other. So one of those thicker twists is made up of about 3 or 4 of these thinner ones. So I am going to have to add a few more on at least. But I think that 3 will do for now. I'm going to wrap these two together next. Get that off the card so we can have a break from all the nasty scritchy scratching noises. Like little mice trying to get in. And just move this one up here. And just wrap this one on as well. Okay, here we go. So to show you what I've done there. Put it down so you can have a good look. See, I've got these 3 all bundled together here, and then another 3 bundled together here. I've got a 4th one here that I think I'm going to add onto this group of 3. And then I'm probably going to have to add some more roots on because I've only got two little trunks to wrap together. I'm just going to wrap these trunks up a bit more. So probably you want to look at about 2.5 centimeters worth of wrapping of these trunks. Try not to wrap the branches together too much, but you know, they're easy to untangle, so don't worry too much because they're nice and short, these wires, so they are easy to untangle. So now you might want to arrange your roots a little bit, have a little play with them, get them in the right position where you want them, spread them out a bit, bend them round a bit, and you can either do this as you're sort of creating them or at this point. I quite like doing it at all the stages because it's the fun bit. And it's even more fun when we get to the branches. So I'm going to have to add some more roots on now. So I need to add on another 3 bundles, 2 in each. So that's 1, 2, 6. So I need another 6 wires. Maths, eh? Craft and maths. Life. 1, 2. 3. Make sure you send me photos of everything you make or anything. I don't care if it's unfinished. I'd like to see your workspace, work in progress, just anything to make it feel more like a real craft session that you actually attended and you got to show off what you made or tell people what you were disappointed in about it. It's just great to have a bit of feedback from each other. Really, I think it's encouraging. I think it's nice. Keeps us connected. I'm actually going to cut another 8 bits. Might go for it. Go wild. Have more. So I'm just going to bundle my 2 tree trunks out of the way. Just wrap them around that side one, so they're not going to interfere with these new root systems. I'm gonna have to get a narrower table as my bump gets bigger. It's hard to sit close enough to the edge of the table that I can get my hands on the camera shot. Didn't really think about that. To get a bench or something. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I won't get that big. No, I definitely will. Well, that's the plan anyway. So we're just doing the same thing here in groups of 2. We're adding our wires on. You could use a thicker wire for this, but the nice thing about using a thin wire is when you get up into the branches, you can really go for it with the adding the leaves on. Oh, that's nice, Jill. That's a good idea, actually. You've got to send me a photo, Jill. I'm so excited to see. I'm so excited to see. And good for you for sticking with it. It's not an easy project, but like it's a good feeling when you get it done. Very satisfying when you tie those strings together and the stone is trapped. Ha 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 ha. Can't go anywhere. Right, just twisting these 2 together. Gone off camera again because I'm so far away from the stupid table. Last 2. Okay, so now I've got these 4 more added on. I'm just going to untwist these ones I've put around the side. Yeah, there we go. 4 more, 3 more I've done. Oh, I don't know. Can't count. 3 more. 3 more, that's fine. 3 more is enough. And I'm going to work out how I want to do this. Twist 2 of them together first. Oh no, there are 4. There's one up here, it's hiding. Come here, cheeky. So I'm going to twist 3 of them together first. Create a nice thick root there. And then add the final one in and twist all 4 of them together. And then, like I was saying, because we're making the trunk, so you can just then twist all these strands together to make a single trunk, but I like the woven trunk look, so I'm going to twist these 4 together about 1 inch. About 3 centimeters. Sorry, I'm just flip-flopping between imperial and metric, as I like to. If you've watched any of my other sessions, you'll know. And I've bent my oval slightly out of shape. If that happens, this wire is quite a soft wire, so just do bend it back into shape. Okay, and now I'm gonna weave my trunk. So that's quite simple. Kind of just like creating a plait, but it doesn't have to be a very good plait because the wire is quite stiff, it will hold its shape. I'm just going to put those 2 together. Adding this 3rd one, it can come around the back here. You can go over those 2. You can leave little gaps in your trunk. The only thing I try to avoid is don't let it get too narrow. So if they're all pulling together a bit much, like push them away from each other a bit. Separate them out. Give them a little flatten with your fingers. Make sure you're happy with where all your roots are, because it's going to be the sort of last point you would alter that. And just finish up with your trunk. So that's turned into a bit too much of a plait for my liking, so I'm going to kind of take it out and just go back to the sort of there, and then start working on the branches. So the branches can kind of split off from this trunk quite early on, and you can keep them twisted together quite thickly. Oh, sorry, Lucy. It's because the camera is in front of me and I'm having to lean quite far off the table. So I'm actually not looking at the project myself much, which is a little bit challenging. So I'm going to start dividing these thin wires up. Oh, you think maybe, oh, if I set up the camera so it's behind me. The problem with that, if I have the camera set up behind me, then I can't see at all what's on the camera, so I'm just guessing. Everything might be entirely off screen and I wouldn't really know. Because I have thought about doing something like that. And it just doesn't, I'm not sure how it would be possible. I can watch it on my laptop, but then there's a time delay on my laptop. So it doesn't really work. Okay, so now you're going to take a collection of these wires. You've got an even number of wires here, so I take an even number of wires out of the bunch. So I've got 4 wires here I'm going to start creating a branch out of. And these are going to be the branches that hold your moon. If you want to add a moon in, you don't have to. So I'm twisting these wires together for about, well, that's probably a bit further than I need to, but about 1 centimetre. And then I'm going to get my next collection of 4 wires. 4, yeah. And I'm going to twist them together. So you can work in odd numbers, it might just get a little bit tricky when you get out to the edges. So just remember that. So that's my 4 wires twisted together. Create some branches up here out of this bit. Again, 4 wires. You see, I don't even know how this happens because now I've got 1 bunch of 4 and 1 bunch of 3. Must have stolen some from another tree trunk, but that's fine. And actually that can be quite good now to start combining them. So what I might actually do is make that on purpose. Twisting this bunch up together. And now let's think about how we're going to put our moon in our tree. So the moon has a hole in it, which is quite good. I don't know, you probably can't see that because it's a bit small for the camera, but it's good because it means you can thread it onto one of your branches. So I'd get one of the middle groups of 4. That's it, this one's got 5 in, that's why I've got an odd number at the end. And don't worry too much about that, it's not really a big deal. Just as long as you can get all those wires through that hole. Just that. That's super easy, right? Tell you what, it's not the kind of thing you want to do on live camera. So just thread that moon down onto the wire. And be a bit careful because these shell beads can be a little bit fragile and you don't want to snap it. So bend a right angle bend in that wire so it goes through that hole and that moon can lie flat now along the wire. So you just put a bend in the wire. Don't use the bead to bend the wire because it may not work that well. Then we're going to use these other branches that we've created to hold the moon in place. And that's going to happen in a minute. We're going to start off by finishing up this wire that the moon's on. So as soon as it comes through the moon, I'm going to split this into two. So I'm going to twist half of the wires together. Ali, I've just seen your message. The cord that's in the bracelet kit, it's a slightly thicker version of the same stuff, and there's more than you need for the bracelet. It's about twice as much as you need for the bracelet. So you can use that to have a go at doing the pendant again if you want to. It's quite versatile, that cord. So these two branches that I've twisted out of that one branch, I'm going to take to my side of my tree, and I'm just going to twist them around the edge, and I'm going to leave these little bits long because we're going to use them to add some leaves on when we are ready. Oh, I've got a feeling this is going to be longer than an hour, this session. Maybe not though, we'll see. Got it all added on, haven't we? Then you're going to work out how these other branches are going to, so these other branches are going to like be used to sandwich your moon in place. As you see, it's on there, it's secure, but it's sort of flapping around. So these other branches are going to cross over your moon and hold it in place. And like I was saying, try and make this process as unique to you as possible. Make it nice and organic. Do what you think looks best for your moon and your tree. And end up with something totally unique and beautiful and right for you. Okay, so I'm just trying to work out what I want to do with this one. And what the first thing I want to do, I think, is twist it a bit more, all four of them together, before I split off. And I'm thinking that I'm going to twist this up like that. Oh, let me know how you get on with the proper macrame board, Ali. I've always found the pins and a bit of plywood, not plywood, board was easier to use. But yeah, let me know if you find it easier with the proper macrame board. That'd be interesting. Okay, so how am I going to sandwich this moon? Bring the branches over. Bring this branch over here, maybe. So yeah, I'll take the branch over here. Stretch those ones out a bit. Leave this one as quite a thick branch till the edge. Get it to the edge and just wrap it around. But you do have to have quite strong thumbs to use the pins, I guess. It's a bit more of a ordeal. Right. So there we go, I've started to create a nest for that moon. So you see that moon's not wobbling around anymore, it's kind of pinched in between those lot of branches, which is the idea. And then I'm going to, so now all these little bits that are down here, what I might do is just bundle them out of my way, down to the bottom of the tree, Because like I said, we're going to add some leaves onto them, but we don't need them to get in our way. And all these ones over here, I might put over there. Just try and make myself a bit of space to work. And I might have to do one more branch coming across the moon. I might make it come from one of these other bundles. So this can be quite nice time to start crossing your trunks across. I'm going to take from the far trunk on the other side. I'm going to take 4 wires, if I can split them off. No promises. I think we need another. Sorry, that scratching noise is driving me crazy. So yeah, one branch has gone through the hole in the moon, and then it goes behind and splits into 2. And then this other branch has gone in front of the moon, and then I'm just going to bring another branch across. Maybe not that one, that looks a bit too far. I'm just going to bring another branch across to really sandwich that moon in place. But it just depends how you do it, whether you think you need that extra branch to come across and hold your moon in place. I might even take this branch so it's just going to brush along the top of the moon. And again, that's something, if you're making the necklace version, I haven't included a moon because you need to spend a bit more effort. You need to spend a bit more effort basically making it stay in place if it's going to be worn as a necklace. If you're not wearing the moon with a necklace, then it can be a little bit more like just tucked in place. Secured as best you can. Okay, but there we go. I've gone with 2 branches over the moon, and you can leave these little wires at the side to add your leaves on with, and you can now just have a little play with those branches, and you can do that at any point. Just have a little play, move the branches round, get them where you want them. That would be my advice. Keep fiddling with it till everything is just so. And now I might have a thicker branch sort of coming up the middle of the tree because we've got quite a lot of space to fill up here. Now we've got that moon trapped. So I'll just do some twisting. Yeah, sorry, sometimes the camera goes a bit blurry, like the seconds and stuff gets lost, which is a shame. So that thicker branch is coming up now. Now I'm going to split it into 2, and I might add some leaves on, finally. Finally, that'd be good, wouldn't it? The next stage in the process. So you can obviously retrofit all your leaves with these loose ones afterwards, but it's quite nice to add some on as you go along as well. And the way I like to do it is to choose a nice bit of stone, one you think that's going to look good. So maybe starting with the smaller stones and working towards the bigger stones at the edge. I think that looks good. Put it on one of the wires that's on your branch and then twist them all together. And put it on the next one. So again, putting it on one wire and then twisting the bunch together. And now I'm going to split this into 2 branches. I'm going to go off in different directions, but I'm going to keep putting leaves on them. And again, I'm just putting it on one of the wires. So these are split into groups of 2 wires. So the bead goes down one wire and then it gets twisted together. And then we get the next bead. Goes down one wire, and then we twist it together. And think about your composition. If you've got multiple coloured beads, just try and get it how you'd like it. Like I said, I'd use some of the bigger ones you've got at the edges. I think that looks really nice. To use a big one at the edge. And you can also, if you put a big one at the edge, you can use that to hide where you're wrapping the wire around the edge. Kind of sits on top of where that wire is being wrapped around the oval. Oh, fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Okay, this is the bit that I found I remember getting really frustrated about now, because there are little wires going everywhere. It doesn't really look like much yet, and it's just a bit like, makes you want to scream. But just stick with it. If that moon pops out, just pop it back in. And you can start to arrange your branches how you want to as you go. And those branches will be quite flexible through the whole process, so just get them where you want them. Tuck these wires out of your way. If like me, they're driving you mad. God, struggling with my words a bit today. Tell you what, guys, these pregnancy hormones, they're nothing to joke about. Turns your brain to mush. All right, here we go. So put that bead on, little twist together. Put the next bead on, little twist together. Branch seems to be quite green. And then when you get to your edge, like I said, it looks quite nice if you use a bigger bead at your edge. And you've still got those little extra ends, so if you want to add more leaves on later, you can do. Or I'll show you how to finish up those extra ends. Oh, we've got 15 minutes left. Well, the bets we're going to overrun a bit. I think we might have to. Just a little bit. Let's twist those together. I'm bringing quite a thick branch up here. And I'm going to split it. Start off by splitting it into two. It's not an exact process, this twisting, so just do what feels right to you. If you want to do a thicker, a harder twist, a tighter twist, you can. If you want to leave it looser, you can do that too. And don't worry too much about if you're getting the twist even, because if you look at trees, you'll notice that they are not very even things. They're quite like, they're quite gnarled and bits going off everywhere. So just enjoy allowing yourself that. I'm going to just put in an extra twist here. I'm going to just twist these two together again, I think. Put this one all the way around. I'm going to put it all the way around those two, back through that hole. Yeah, and why not? It's your design. If you're working on it and you think, oh yeah, that'll look good, give it a go. See if you like it. I do like it. I think it looks good. And really start, now we've got that moon in place, we've got a few branches in place, you can really start to like map out the shape of your tree now. So really starting to divide those trunks into branches, thinking about where the branches are going to go. This tree's a lot more in the middle. It's one was a lot more off to the side. I think because it's a slightly smaller moon, this one's ended up a bit more central. But I quite like that. I think it'll look nice. I'm going to add plenty of leaves on, and that'll look good. Might not get it entirely finished in this workshop today, so what I might do is in a second I'll show you how to add leaves on to the additional little bits. I'll show you how to finish off your ends, and then it will just be a case of you taking the initiative, getting creative, which I know you all are because I've seen the stuff you make and it's beautiful, and taking those branches wherever they want to go, making your tree beautiful and unique. I'm doing the same thing. I'm threading my leaves, my little chip beads, down one of the thin wires. So I'm threading them down one of the thin wires and then wrapping the two wires together. And that's nice because it holds them really nicely in place, because I've seen other people where they just thread like a big log line of beads down the branch, but I don't like that. I think that looks, I like them to sort of have a bit of spacing between them. I think they look more leafy then. This has turned into quite a low-hanging branch, but I think I can work with that. And if you change your mind later, you can always undo it, take some of the beads off, and take it back. So don't worry, you can always start off like that and change it later. So like I said, I like to sort of work with the bead that feels right for the space, the chip, because they're all such different sizes and shapes. So maybe start off with the smaller ones closer into the trunk, and then work out to the bigger ones as we get closer to the edge. I do think that looks quite good, but very up to you, whatever you want to do. Like I keep saying, your tree, your rules. And you can even, at this point, if you've got wire left over and you're thinking, oh, I wish my trunk was a bit thicker, or I wish I had some more roots, you can add more roots on and just weave them up and into the branches. There's no rules. It's totally up to you guys. You do what you think works for your tree. Obviously, just within the materials and the process that you have available. If you're finding this project frustrating, just try and just take it right back to basics, just the twisting the wire, the looping the little bits of wire that you've got out of the way, anything like that can make, just giving yourself a bit of space to work on what you want to work on. I find these things can help you create a little bit of energy in your crafting. It can make you, you just need to give yourself the right work environment. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. So, because sometimes craft projects can get a bit stressful. I'm a bit stressed by my moon that keeps moving around, but I know when I do this next stage, it's going to be totally held in place. So I'll show you how to do this next stage. So I'm just going to add some leaves on around the edges here. We've got all these little wires sticking over here, and we're going to pop some leaves on them. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're just going to add a single leaf on to one of these wires. They're all twisted together, goody. This will be all the twisting. So a single leaf onto one of these wires, and then we're just going to wrap that single wire back around the original branch a couple of times. And that'll hold our little stone chip in place. And that's one. And that also makes that wire a lot more sturdy. That wire is not wiggling around, because that's the problem why my moon keeps falling off, is because these wires are wiggling around on the outside wire. But that leaf has stopped that happening. And I'm thinking I actually want to put 2 leaves on that branch, so I'm just going to add a second one on now. That same thin wire that I took off and put the first leaf on with, I'm just going to put another leaf on that, thread it back up to the top, and just twist that around. You can use that wire now as well to create, if you want to, because it's up behind the moon now, so if your moon really won't stay in place, you can use it to create more of a cradle for your moon by taking it behind the moon, taking it to one of the other branches, and then just wrapping it around that other branch, so it stops that branch from moving and holds your moon more in place. So you can use those little wires to help create more of a basket to hold your moon. And I hope that makes sense, because it's really hard to explain. It's something you've just got to you've got to see if it works for where your branches are and where your moon is. I'll try and explain it more as I go along. So then you've got this little bit of wire here, and you can just get your little snippers. You can either wrap it all the way back round to the trunk and wrap it into the trunk, or you can just trim it off. If you're making this as a necklace version, I'd probably suggest ending all your little wires around a bead, because that's the best way to do it. So these little ones that are left on the side, I'm just going to take them in. I'm going to wrap them round the base of this leaf so they are hidden. And then I'm just going to, you can do that once or twice, and then just trim them off. So that's great for a wall hanging, and that works for a necklace as well, to just wrap them around that last bead and trim them off. And you want to make sure those little ends, especially if it's a necklace, are just sort of flat and tucked in, so you're not going to scratch yourself on them. Okay, let's add a leaf onto this one. So I'm just going to do an extra wrap, because I only wrap this around the outside wires once, so I'm going to put an extra wrap in this one. And I'm going to get a leaf on. Little leaf. Here's a little leaf. And I'm going to go under, I'm just going to wrap it. So I'm just thinking 1 wire on this, because I'm very close to the moon. 1 wire, 1 leaf. Yes, I can, definitely, Jill, no problem. Just give me a second. I'll just get this one on, and then I will do some close-ups. It's hard to get the camera much closer than this, because I'll end up punching it, but I can definitely do you some close-ups. Show you what I did just now, and show you what I'm doing just now. So I'm just wrapping that 1 wire that the leaf's attached on back around the branch. And then I'm just going to, I will come close to the camera and show you how I'm finishing it off. Okay, so let's get up in the camera's face. So I've got, my leaf is attached on there. The wire has wrapped around the branch to hold it in place, and I've got my little bundle of wires here that I want to finish off. And what I'm going to do is just wrap them around that leaf so they go underneath it. So they sit underneath it. You see? So you've got your nice little leaf sitting on top of a little wrap of wire. And then you're going to trim off those ends. And that's another reason it's a good idea. I've used quite a small leaf there. It's a good idea to use bigger leaves. But I didn't want my leaf to clash with my moon. Right, and I'll show you what I've done with the other leaves down here. So I've got my 2 leaves here. Keep it in camera, here and here, that I've wrapped on with my single wire. And then I've brought the single wire just around the back of the moon here. Don't know, you probably can't even see that, it's so thin. Back of the moon here to create an extra little branch that will help hold that moon in place. Yeah? And I'll just add a few more leaves onto these ones. So make sure your branches are the right side of the moon before you start adding your leaves on. And you're happy with how often they've been wrapped around your outside bit. This is the bit I wanted to show you. This is the other thing you can do with these extra wires. And where shall I show you this? Might do it over this side. Okay, so if you've got lots of extra wire and you're thinking, oh, that's a bit of a waste, I'd quite like to use that for something, you can create another little branch coming off your main branch. And the way you do that is you just wrap those extra wires up the outside wire a bit, not too far because you don't want to get like a big section of wrapped wire. And I would then put a biggish leaf on there to hide that section of wrapped wire. And then you can wrap those wires together and create an extra branch that you can then when you've got it as long as you want it, you can then attach that extra branch back on to a main branch, really simply, obviously, just by wrapping it round. And you can even take that extra branch all the way back into the trunk. So I'll do a close-up of that again in a minute because I know it's hard with my fingers in the way. Okay, so you see that's, keep it in camera. That's the extra branch there that's come down this one, up the side, and then gone back round and into that main branch again. So you can even take your branches back down and add them into the trunk and add thicker bits into the trunk. It's quite nice because you can add more thin branches to the edge of your design, little branches using those extra wires. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful and useful and you can see where it's going. I will of course finish this one off and pop up photos of it when it's done. What should I do now? I mean, I don't think there's really much more I can teach you. I think it's just a case of having a go now and trying using those techniques to finish off edges, to wind wires back in, to just make that tree as organic and natural as possible and as much yours. Like I said with the moon, I'm probably going to, so I created that little basket for it to sit in down there, and I'll probably do something similar up the top with one of these guys. I'll add on some leaves and then just wrap a little thin wire behind it that will really hold it tightly in place. These ones up here, I've just got some little wires to use up, so I'm just going to wrap them around that big leaf at the top and just trim them off. Like I said, if it's a wall hanging, you don't need to worry too much about those spiky bits. If it's the necklace version, which is in the small kit that says extra, then you might want to be a bit more careful with your spiky bits. You can very much, this wire is very easy to cut, so if you don't have clippers, then do use an old pair of scissors. They work great. Let's just cut that one. And you see I've just got these ones to do, but I think it's probably going to take me about another hour, so I think maybe we'll end there because I don't think I get finished today with you guys anyway, before I had to have a nap. So yeah, enjoy. Don't forget, let me put the thing up. Yes, it will, Kim. It will be a joy to make. Let me put the camera up so I can say goodbye properly. Here we go. Yeah, definitely enjoy making it. I hope you do. If you've got any other questions or want to see any close-up photos of it, just give me a shout and I'll pop those on the group. I'm glad it was useful, and yeah, definitely have a go. This is what we're doing next week. This one's going to be over on my page, which is Nevermore Boutique, so make sure I'll pop the event in the group, so watch out for the event, but we're going to be doing this woven moon with all the lovely tassely bits and lovely gemstone-y bits. So join me for that. Again, this is an easier project, so I've kind of worked backwards. I started with the hardest project, which was the macrame pendant, and then we're like, the projects are getting slightly easier every week. The macrame bracelet's going to be, well, it's not as hard as the pendant, but it's not super easy. So, but you guys can do it. I know you can. I've got so much faith. Yeah. Close-up photos would be great, no problem. I'll add a whole load of close-up photos to the group and you guys can see all the details that probably were lost in the video. I'll also go back and watch the beginning of the video when I didn't know I was live and see what I did, see if I sung anything embarrassing or waved my bum in the air or anything awful. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to next week too. It'll be nice. What I'm most looking forward to about next week is I'll be able to do it like in front of you like this. I won't have to try and do a close-up, which can be so fiddly. Yeah, I think I need to get a smaller bench so I can do a close-up and be really close to it. Working at the table, I'm working like this, which is not the most comfortable position. But yeah, you don't think about these things when you set up to begin with. You know, when you're not pregnant and you don't have a massive belly getting in the way of your crafting. Thank you so much for watching and joining me. It really makes a difference having all your lovely comments and doing this live. And yeah, show me your pictures once you've started those trees. I can't wait to see them. It's going to be really nice. Yeah, so bye-bye. Have a good rest of your Saturday and I'll see you next week.